Chronicles of Evimora, the last strike of Kharun. The desert did not forgive noise. Every careless footstep carried through the sand. Every drop tool, every loose stone, every heartbeat, if fear made it loud enough. That was what Kharun had taught his son. Not with gentleness, not with cruelty, with truth. The arid expanse of Driath Vale stretched beneath Evi's amber glow in endless dunes of pale gold and rust-red stone. Cracked plains opened between ridges like old wounds in the ground. Far beyond them, black desert spires rose, crooked against the horizon, their tips glittering with mineral veins. Water was rare here, shade rarer, mercy rarest. The Driads endured anyway. They built homes into cliff walls, carved sleeping chambers through stone, and shaped entire villages from places most tribes would have abandoned after one afternoon. They did not waste. Not food, not fora, not words, not grief. Especially not grief. Taelis stood at the edge of the village training circle, gripping a dull practice blade in both hands. His light yellow-orange skin shimmered faintly under Evi, natural markings across his shoulders glowing with fresh soleus resonance. New resonance, unsteady resonance. Only 3 nights ago, Evi had answered him. His eyes had changed first, brightening into warm amber gold. Then the markings beneath his skin had awakened like hidden embers. His father had smiled only once, but Taelis had seen it, and that one smile had meant more than applause from the entire village. Across from him stood Kharun, his father, veteran warrior, stone shaper, protector of the Vale. The massive crystalline boulder at the end of Kharun's single tail rested against the sand behind him, half buried from its own weight. It was beautiful in the way storms were beautiful, amber orange, streaked with smoky brown and bright veins of gold. No other Driad possessed a crystal like it. No 2 tail crystals were ever alike. They grew before birth, shaped in the womb by fora, moonlight, and whatever quiet mysteries the Driads refused to explain to outsiders. A Dryad's crystal was not decoration. It was weapon, tool, identity, memory. Kharun lifted his chin. Again. Taelis exhaled hard. I have already lost 7 times. Then lose correctly on the 8th. Taelis tightened his grip. You could offer encouragement, like other fathers. Kharun's expression did not change. Other fathers raise fools. Taelis almost smiled. Almost. Then he attacked. He moved fast, trying to use his new Evi strength before his father could settle. His markings flared amber as he crossed the sand and swung for Kharun's ribs. Kharun shifted half a step. That was all. His tail swept forward. The crystal boulder slammed into the ground beside Taelis with enough force to explode sand into the air. Taelis stumbled. Kharun's elbow struck his chest. The boy hit the ground flat on his back. The sky spun overhead. Kharun looked down at him. Power is not strength. Taelis groaned. It felt like strength when it hit me. That was control. Kharun's tail lifted slowly, the huge crystal moving with impossible grace for something so heavy. A Dryad does not swing because he can. He strikes because the moment requires it. Taelis sat up, rubbing his chest. And if the moment requires not being humiliated? Kharun finally smiled again, small, brief, rare. Then you should improve faster. The alarm came at dusk. Not a bell, not a horn. A vibration. Deep beneath the village stone, warning crystals began to pulse. Once, twice, then again. Every Dryad in the village stopped moving. Children froze mid-step. Artisans lowered tools. Warriors turned toward the eastern dunes. The desert had spoken. Something large was moving beneath it. Kharun's smile vanished. Taelis felt the shift instantly. Not fear. Readiness. Every adult Dryad in the square became stone in spirit before they moved in body. A young scout came sprinting from the ridge path, blood running down one side of his face. He collapsed near the training circle. Sand Maw. The village went silent. Taelis felt the name pass through everyone like a blade. Sand Maws were not common beasts. They were disasters with teeth. Ancient desert predators that slept beneath mineral flats and hunted by vibration. Their armored bodies could burrow through stone-soft dunes. Their jaws were lined with rotating crystal teeth capable of grinding bone, armor, and shelter walls into powder. Kharun stepped toward the scout. Where? East Basin, harvest line. Children were gathering salt bloom. Kharun's tail crystal lifted from the sand. How many? The scout's thoughts trembled. 12 still out there. No one waited for orders. The warriors moved. Kharun turned to Taelis. Stay. Taelis stood. No. His father's eyes hardened. This is not training. Then stop treating me like a child. Kharun looked at him for one long breath. The village around them blurred in Taelis' awareness. All he could see was his father, amber markings glowing beneath skin, scarred by years of impact and sacrifice. Finally, Kharun said, Stay behind me. If I tell you to run, you run. If I fall, you do not come back for me. Taelis' throat tightened. You will not fall. Kharun turned toward the dunes. That is not an answer. They reached the eastern basin as Evi climbed higher into the night sky. The moon's amber light spilled over the desert, turning every dune into a blade of gold. The salt bloom fields lay shattered. White crystal flowers had been ripped from the ground and scattered across the basin. Storage carts lay overturned. Blood darkened the sand in dragging arcs. Taelis saw the first body near a broken stone marker. He looked away too quickly. Kharun noticed. Look! Taelis' stomach twisted. Father, look! So Taelis did. A Dryad worker lay half buried in sand, chest crushed inward, one arm still extended toward the rocks where the children had fled. Kharun's thoughts touched his son's mind, firm but not unkind. This is what warriors stand between. Taelis swallowed hard. His fresh Soleus Evi burned beneath his skin. For the first time since awakening, it did not feel like a gift. It felt like a responsibility he was too small to carry. A scream shattered through the basin. Telepathic, young, terrified. Help! Kharun moved instantly. The hunting party surged between stone ridges toward a narrow canyon where several children huddled behind a cracked slab of desert rock. The ground trembled beneath them. Taelis felt it through his feet. A rhythm, deep, heavy, circling. Kharun lifted one fist. Everyone stopped. The desert went still. Then the sand opened. The Sand Maw erupted from beneath the basin. It was enormous, a plated monster of stone-colored hide and jagged mineral growths, its body long and low, like a buried river of muscle. 6 limbs clawed through the sand, while its head split open sideways into a circular, grinding mouth filled with rotating crystal teeth. It struck the nearest warrior before she could swing. Its jaws closed over her upper body. There was a wet crunch. Then half of her hit the sand. Taelis froze. Kharun did not. He charged. His tail whipped forward, the massive amber crystal smashing into the Sand Maw's jaw with a crack that echoed across the basin. The creature recoiled. 2 more Dryad warriors attacked from the sides, tail crystals hammering into its armor plates. Stone cracked. The beast screamed through the ground, not sound, vibration. Taelis' teeth rattled. Kharun shouted telepathically to the others, "Get the children out." "It will follow the movement," another warrior replied. "Then give it mine." Kharun slammed his foot down. Once. Hard. The Sand Maw turned toward him instantly. Taelis' eyes widened. "Father!" Kharun did not look back. His markings flared under Evi. Then he spoke aloud, roughly, imperfectly. "Resh! Vakar!" The spell burst from him in crude resonance. Not beautiful, not smooth, not Ori scribe perfect. Dryad casting was rarely elegant. It was practical, forceful, expensive. A shock wave rippled through the sand, hardening the ground beneath the Sand Maw's front limbs. The beast stumbled as the surface locked into cracked glassy stone. Kharun moved in. His crystal tail struck again. Once, twice, a third time. Each blow shattered armor from the beast's face. Blood the color of rust sprayed across the sand. The children ran. Warriors pulled them toward the ridge. Taelis stayed where he was, shaking, blade useless in his hand. Then the Sand Maw changed tactics. It collapsed downward, burrowing. Kharun's eyes narrowed. "Spread out!" Too late. The beast erupted beneath the fleeing children. The ground exploded. 3 young Driads fell screaming into a collapsing pit. Taelis moved before thought could stop him. He sprinted toward them. "Taelis!" Kharun's panic struck his mind like thunder. Taelis slid down the broken slope, grabbing the nearest child by the arm. Sand poured around them. Below, the Sand Maw's mouth rotated open from beneath the collapse. Taelis pulled. The child screamed. His Soles Evi flared wildly. Too wild, too unfocused. The sand beneath him gave way. Then Kharun was there. His father's hand seized the back of his tunic and hurled him upward with brutal strength. Taelis and the child landed hard near the ridge. Kharun remained below. The Sand Maw rose beneath him. For one heartbeat, father and son looked at each other across the collapsing pit. Kharun's thoughts came calm, clear, final. "Now you run!" Taelis screamed through the bond. "No!" Kharun turned away. The Sand Maw lunged. Kharun met it head-on. His tail crystals smashed into the creature's mouth as it closed around him. Amber light flared. Bone cracked. Crystal teeth shattered. Kharun roared aloud this time. Not words. Pain. Defiance. He drove his crystal deeper, jamming the beast's rotating jaws open. Then he spoke one last spell. Broken. Bloody. Powerful. There! Khar! The casting tore through him. The ground beneath the Sand Maw hardened instantly into jagged desert crystal. Spires erupted upward, piercing through the creature's underside. The beast convulsed. Kharun was crushed between jaw and stone, but his crystal held. The Sand Maw screamed, then collapsed. The basin shook. Dust swallowed everything. When the sand settled, the children were alive. The warriors were alive. Taelis was alive. Kharun was not. The Sand Maw lay dead across the basin, impaled on desert crystal, its mouth still forced open by the amber-orange boulder that had once been Kharun's tail crystal. Taelis stumbled toward him. No one stopped him. He fell to his knees beside what remained of his father. For a long time, he could not form thought. Only grief, huge, wordless, unbearable. Then his mother, Veressa, knelt beside him and placed one hand on his shoulder. Her thoughts were quiet. "He spent his life preparing you." Taelis shook his head. "I was not ready." Veressa looked at the dead beast. at the children sobbing in their parents' arms, at Kharun's crystal still lodged inside the creature's broken jaws. He was. 3 nights later, the village sealed its outer gates. No outsiders were permitted inside, no visitors, no traders, no watchers from other tribes. The right of the remaining crystal belonged only to the Driads. Taelis stood beneath the Hall of Stone Memory, surrounded by elders, warriors, and bloodline kin. At the center of the chamber lay Kharun's tail crystal. It had been removed in silence, washed with mineral oil, set upon black desert cloth. Even separated from his body, it seemed alive. Amber veins pulsed faintly beneath its surface. Taelis could hardly look at it. Elder Maroon approached him, old and bent, with crystal growths along both forearms. "Do you know why we do not reshape the crystal?" Taelis answered, as he had been taught. "Because it is not ours to command." "And what is it?" Taelis's voice trembled through thought. "Memory. And what else?" He looked at the crystal, saw his father's hands, his stance, his rare smile, the final look across the collapsing pit. "Burden." Maroon nodded. "And what else?" Taelis closed his eyes. A tear slipped down his cheek. "Love." The elder's expression softened. "Now you understand enough to begin." The forging was not fire and hammer alone. It was listening. 3 Dryad artisans circled the crystal, humming deep resonance tones that never fully became song. Their hands traced natural fracture lines. They did not cut across memory. They followed it. Small pieces were removed. Never the heart, never the central mass. The crystal chose its form slowly. Not a sword, not an axe, a war hammer. Massive, balanced, built around Kharun's original crystal head, now set into a reinforced haft of dark desert iron and braided fora fiber. The weapon looked too large for Taelis, too heavy, too sacred. When it was complete, no one touched it first. Not the elders, not his mother, not even Taelis. The hammer rested under Evie's moonlight in the open center of the chamber, glowing softly, as if waiting for permission from the dead. Veressa stepped beside her son. "He would not want you to become him." Taelis looked at her. "Everyone expects me to. Then disappoint them wisely." His throat tightened. "What if I fail him?" Veressa's thoughts wrapped around him like warm stone. Then rise carrying him, not hiding behind him. At dawn, the village gathered at the ceremonial stone. It stood taller than any warrior, black and smooth, marked by generations of impact scars. Every heir who accepted a sacred crystal weapon struck it once, not to break it, to declare intention. Taelis stepped forward. The warhammer dragged slightly in the sand. Too heavy. The watching villagers saw. He heard some of their thoughts before they veiled them. Too young. Too soon. Too much weight. Taelis almost believed them. Then Evie's first light touched the hammer. Kharun's crystal glowed. Not brightly. Not dramatically. Just enough. Taelis felt something through the grip. A resonance. A memory of stance. Of breath. Of timing. Not his father's voice. Not exactly. More like the shape of him. Taelis lifted the hammer. The crowd went still. He turned toward the stone. His markings ignited amber. This time, he did not force the strength. He let it settle. Let it align. Let it become quiet. Then, he swung. The hammer struck the ceremonial stone. A crack split through the black surface from top to base. The sound rolled across the village like thunder. No one moved. No one spoke. Taelis stood breathing hard, both hands locked around the haft. The hammer's crystal dimmed slowly. Elder Maroon bowed his head. Then every Dryad in the village followed. Veressa last, tears in her eyes, pride in her silence. Taelis looked down at the weapon, at the crystal his father had left behind. For the first time since the basin, the weight did not feel like punishment. It felt like inheritance. He lifted the hammer against his shoulder, and beneath the amber glow of Evi, Taelis made the first vow of his adult life. I will not waste what he saved. The desert wind moved softly through the village. No forgiveness, no mercy, but perhaps, for one brief moment, a kind of blessing.